श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। So, we are finishing up the 14th verse, and what does it say? Ahankara prabhuhu sabhyaha vishayaha nartaki matihi taladidharini akshani deepaha sakshi avabhasakaha. The metaphor is now fully unpacked. And then we have seen all the implications of the buddhi in the form of the dancer being squeezed. Squeezed means what? Being pressured. On the one side, being pressured by the sense organs which are connected to the audience. So the buddhi is also connected to the dancer in the form of the buddhi is connected to the audience in the form of the vishaya. They say, taliyan, taliyan, come, do this, do that, some more, higher, faster, do this number. And so, the dancer dances to the dancer is the buddhi, because buddhi is also feminine, dancer is also feminine here, she dances to the tune of the sense objects. Sense objects are there. And then the sense objects, we have to also bring in raga dvesha. Sense objects means raga dvesha. Certain things she is dancing towards, certain things she is dancing away from. This is what the whole thing is. So the sense objects bring in raga dvesha of who? The buddhi, the dancer. So the sense organs that bring in the raga dvesha, what do? They do a number on the buddhi. The buddhi is exhausted by responding and being enslaved on the one hand to the sense organs, which in turn are connected to what? Sense objects. This is one side of the situation. Another side, the buddhi is squeezed by the Prabhu. Who is Prabhu? Ahankara. Because the buddhi, whatever the buddhi wants to do, the ahankara has to give permission. Ahankara has to give permission, and then the ahankara will be having its own agenda, and then on the one side, the buddhi is squeezed by the audience, sthaniya, sense objects and the sense organs, and is seeking approval by having likes and dislikes vis-a-vis the various sense objects. That's why the audience is the sense objects. Yesterday, one satsang question was asked, why is the audience sense objects? This is why. The buddhi is dancing to the tune of the sense objects, and then the ahankara is, on the other hand, is trying to appropriate the buddhi and do its bidding. And what is its bidding? I want to look good. Make me look good. Make me look good. Ikshe, Shrinomi, Janami. I'm this one, I'm that one, I'm listening, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, all these things. Make me look very good. So in this way, the buddhi is exhausted. The buddhi cannot let go, and the buddhi therefore is falling into a ditch. And we saw the corresponding Kathopanishad mantra where the buddhi is colonized by the buddhi, the driver, the sarathi is the buddhi. If you have bad horses, meaning the sense organs, and the sense organs, undisciplined horses means undisciplined sense organs, what will they do? They will keep going towards the sense objects, and the mind is slack, loose. The mind are the reins. The mind is slack, and the buddhi goes after the sense objects rather than going on the road to dharma and redeeming itself from this shenanigans, from this sad, sorry state of affairs. So this much we have seen. And then further, स्वस्थान संस्थितो दीपः सर्वतो भासयेद्यथा स्थिरस्थायी तथा साक्षी बहिरन्तः प्रकाशयेत्. Yeah. So, Swasthana sthito deepaha. So now we have unpacked all the other aspects of the metaphor. The best is left for the last. What is the best one? Lamp. The theatre lamp is invisible. Nobody is writing when they write the review of the dance performance, they'll say, oh, the theatre is so wonderful, acoustics are great, the accompanists were wonderful, the dancer was out of this world, very appreciative audience. Nobody says, what a lovely lamp. Nobody says that. Similarly, the Sakshi is ignored. There is no self-awareness of the Sakshi. It is much easy to have awareness of the Buddhi, awareness of the Ahankara, but the awareness of the Sakshi has gone, has taken a hit. So here, this verse talks about this unappreciated Sakshi, and what does it do? Swasthana sthito deepaha. The deepa, the lamp, is not a moving lamp. It's not like you have a mobile phone flashlight and you're taking it places. No. The lamp is on a tower, swasthana, remaining in its own place, sarvatha bhasayed yatha. Remaining in its own place, what does the theatre lamp do? Illumines everything. Within a certain range, but that's not part of the example that's relevant for us. So it will illumine the audience, and then it will illumine the king, it will illumine the dancer, the accompanist. It will also illumine the concession stand where people go and buy some ancient popcorn to go with the show, and it will illumine all this. Swasthana means remaining in its own place. Swasthana is a very important expression. It is also an expression of Atmajnanam. Swasthana. Swasthana means the being completely at home with oneself. This is how we got the word for health, swasthya. Means being completely comfortable and at home with oneself. Swastha, swasthya. And so that means what is health? Health means being enlightened. That's what is the best form of health. Being at home with oneself is also called an expression of health. So this Sakshi, this Deepa, remain here. Swasthana doesn't mean self-knowledge. Here it doesn't mean abiding in oneself. Swasthana here means literally remaining in its own place. What does it do? Sarvatha, in all ways and in all places, bhasayet. It illumines everything. Yatha. Yatha means in which manner the Deepa sarvatah bhasayet, lights up everywhere, even though it's remaining in its own place. Sthirasthayi. Sthirasthayi means the witness that is sthira. Sthairya is again another name for Atma. Sthirasya bhava. Sthira means reliably there, always there. Meaning what? Not undergoing any changes, big or small. No micro changes, no macrocosmic changes. It simply is there. Sthira and sthayi, remaining unchanging. Sthirasthayi, remaining unchanging. So, what is remaining unchanging? Sthirasthayi lamp. The theatre lamp remains unchanging in the same manner. And what is the example here? So, the Sakshi remains unchanging, just like the theatre lamp is unchanging. Sakshi is also what? Unchanging. Unchanging theatre lamp lights up everything and everyone everywhere. And then the theatre lamp is unchanging. Why? Because it's fixed to a certain spot. Sakshi is unchanging. Why? Because it is not fixed to a certain spot. It is all pervasive. To look for the location of the Sakshi is itself is a daunting task, because really it doesn't have a place. Every place is its place. So we should see the limitations of the Drishtanta here. So the lamp is unchanging. Why? Because it is fixed in one place. The Sakshi is unchanging. The Sakshi is unchanging. Why? Because it is the truth of everything, and it is nirvikara, formless, self-evident self. Therefore, the Sakshi is free of all changes. So this Sakshi, sthirasthayi. Sthayi means remaining. So remaining not in one place. Remaining what? Sthira. Remaining unchanging. Remaining sat means trikalepi tishtati iti sat. The definition of sat is that which is the same in all three periods of time, past, future, present. Whenever you look, it hasn't changed. And non-negatable also we can bring in the second definition of sat, non-negatable, abadhitam sat. Abadhitam sat. This sat that can absolutely never ever ever be negated. So non-negatable sat, and the Sakshi is what? Sat. This Sakshi, the truth, the content of this Sakshi, the witness, is sat. Non-negatable, unchanging sat in the form of the Sakshi. This is very interesting now. Bahihi antaha prakashayet. What does it light up? Bahihi means what? Outside. Antaha, inside. Now we have to be careful with this. And so, first let us see what is Bahihi and what is Antaha. For that we have to revisit verse number something in the past. Where is that? So there is one that is there. Yeah, ahankaram dhiyam sakshi vishayanapi bhasayet ahankaradi abhavepi swayam bhati eva purvavat. No, that is not what it is. 7 and 8, that is what. Yeah. So 7. Antarmukha aham iti esha vrittihi. So two kinds of vrittis were talked about. We know them now even in our sleep. So if you are asked what are the vrittis, aham and idam, the answer will come. So, but we need to see what is the difference between the two vrittis. Aham vritti is antarmukha or bahirmukha? Read and tell. You know, this is not a test. Open book test. Okay? Yeah. Antarmukha is what? aham vritti. Bahirmukha is what? Idam vritti. Okay. So, outward facing is idam vritti. Why? Because the objects that are to be objectified are outside. Outside of what we will see later. But right now, outside. Outside means I look at them because they are available to the five means of knowledge, and the five means of knowledge, sight, etc., where are they facing? Outside. Paranchikhani, they are all facing outside. So what do? They objectify things outside. Bahirmukha vritti. And what is that? Idam vritti. This cognition, we can say, is outward facing, whereas I cognition, aham vritti, I notion, is what? Inward facing. What's the difference? I can say, I am ghataha. I am ghataha doesn't mean I am ghataha. No, that is not what we are trying to say. I am means this is a pot. I am ghataha, this pot. This pot, when I say, that means it's a product of this cognition. And then when I say, janami aham. Janami aham. Ko janasi, what do you know? Who do you know? Ghatam janami. So you see the two are together here. So this is a pot, one vritti. What vritti is that? Idam vritti. I know this pot. What is that? Aham vritti. So this aham and idam point to a very, subtle way of knowing objects. And this is a two-part cognition. Two operations are there. First is what happens is that when something is there to be cognized, like our trusty pot, what happens? What do we need to cognize the pot? Eyes. So the eyes, as it were, go out. It's not that they pop out like in the comic books, Yeah. It's not literal. The eyes, as it were, quote unquote, go out, and then first what happens is that there is a pot vritti that takes place even before you see the pot. Pot is still hidden. Nobody knows what this pot is like. Let us pretend. As soon as I say pot, your ishta pot comes in the head. Big pot, small pot, silver pot, golden pot. Why not, Since we are imagining, we can imagine big. We can think big. So all kinds of pots come to the head, and then I show you the pot, and there has to be a certain adjustment that has to take place with the pot vritti, which is what kind of vritti? Idam vritti. The idam vritti has already arisen. That's why I say this is all word and meaning, word and meaning. You hear the word, the meaning appears in the head magically. Anything. Cup, pot, lid, Krishna figurine, anything that is made of clay, jar, jug, saucer, all these things, immediately arthaspuranam takes place. Why? The word is connected to its meaning inextricably. A fact that Kalidasa knew very well. That's why in the opening prayer to Raghuvamsha, he says, Vagartha viva sampriktau, Vagartha pratipattaye, Jagataf pitarau vande, Parvati parameshwarau. I bow to the parents of the universe. Who are they? Parvati and Parameshwara, who are inextricably together like a word and its meaning. And why do I pray? So that these words which I am about to put on paper, not on paper, manuscript, leaves, these words which I am about to write, may their meanings be understood in the mind of the reader. May the words that I am going to put down also never be divorced from their meanings, just like Parvati and Parameshwara can never be delinked. If you worship Shiva, Parvati is included. If you worship Parvati, Shiva is included. Like that. So this way, this fact was very well known to Kalidasa. The whole world is a series of words and meanings. The word pot immediately brings the vritti of the meaning of the word pot. And that meaning is a general meaning because I know what a pot looks like, and then I will think of some pot. But then this pot, ayam ghataha, if I have to cognize, what will happen? The eyes as though go out and then encircle the pot like a pack of dogs, like let's see if you are safe. Who are you? They try to understand. They encircle the person and try to see who this person is. So here the eyes, the sense organ goes out, the appropriate sense organ I should say, goes out and envelops as it were the pot and brings back information. The pot that you thought is not the pot that is here. The pot that you thought was bigger. The pot that you thought was smaller. So then that correction has taken place, correct? So first is going out to envelop the pot and get information from the pot, and then bringing back the information, and then cognizing the pot. This is pot. So do you see the two operations there? Yeah? Both are idam vritti. They are not aham vritti. This is pot. So this is pot needs vritti vyapti. Literally it's called vritti vyapti. The pervading of the vritti to the pervading of the object. The vritti pervades the object. That's a better way to put it. The pervading, the vritti pervading the object is operation number one. Vritti pervades the object. The idam vritti goes out through the eyes, through the ears, depending on what is to be cognized, pervades the object and then brings back the information about the object. And then, what do you say? This is pot. This is called phalavyapti. The cognition, or rather the recognition of the pot is called phalavyapti. And here, there is a mixture of aham vritti and idam vritti. I don't merely say, this is pot. What do I say? I know this pot. This pot, idam vritti, I know aham vritti. Do you see that? Yeah. A very subtle two-part operation for the cognition or the recognition of all that is an object in the universe. But what about the subject? How is the I known? The I, first of all, is already known, correct? Do you need Vedanta to tell you Tvam Asi, you are? Do you need Vedanta to tell you that you exist? No? Why? Because I'm a hopeless case. No. Why? Because I know already. I'm a self-evident person. So I already know Atma is, I am. But don't ask the next question, who are you? Then I will say, how much time do you have? Because I have so many complaints that I need a lot of time. And so, therefore, the vritti that is needed for understanding the I is not a vritti that needs to establish the I. The vritti that is needed to understand this I is a vritti that will transform the nature of this I from thinking of itself as a body, mind, sense, complex ahankara package to seeing that it is one with the cause of the universe. And this vritti is generated in the classroom context and it has a name, Brahmakara vritti. The vritti which is in the form of Brahman. The vritti which is an undivided vritti, also called akhandakara vritti. Brahmakara vritti, akhandakara vritti. In the transmission of the truth of Vedanta from the teacher to the disciple, what is taking place is that this vritti is given. The vritti itself is kshanika, momentary. It dies away. But it has already done its job. You being self-evident need not be objectified, cannot be objectified. It just points to you and says that you are this Satchidananda. So then the head is full of this akhandakara vritti. So vritti vyapti, the first operation, has already taken place. What about phala vyapti? Operation number 2, I know this Brahman. Do you need to say that? No. Why? There is no this Brahman, there is only I Brahman. So I know this Brahman, when you say, then what are you doing? You are expressing your ignorance. This is exactly the exchange that takes place in the Kena Upanishad. The teacher decides to test the students in chapter 2. And then what does he say? He says, who knows Brahman? Tell me. And then, eager to please, one fellow, me, Guru, me, I know Brahman. Yadi manyase suvedeti, dabhramevapi nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam. The teacher responds, it's a takedown of the student's knowledge. It's a put down of the wrong knowledge which the student is brandishing. So, what does the student say? I know Brahman. Yadi manyase. If you think you know Brahman very well, then your knowledge is more inconsequential than a small dust ball, dust bunny. When you vacuum, all those things that are there. That is the extent of your knowledge. And then he must have asked, then another student must have thought, oh, the correct answer is, I don't know Brahman. He raises his hand and he says, I don't know Brahman. Teacher, what will the teacher say? Yes, I know that you don't know from seeing your face. Sit down. Then finally the correct answer is given by a student who says, Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, yonas tadveda tadveda, no na vedeti vedacha. Very nice, lots of puns. You can, even if you don't know Sanskrit, you can see there is a word play here. So this third one is very clever. The third brahmacharin says, I won't say, na aham manye, I do not consider that I know Brahman very well. But at the same time, I cannot say I don't know it at all, because it's me. If I know it very well, that means I know it as an object. I don't say I know Brahman as an object, but at the same time, I don't profess to be ignorant of it. Not only that, if anybody in this room, all the people in this room who understood what I have said, they also know. They also know this Brahman in the same manner as oneself. So, in the Brahman knowledge, since the Sakshi, the content of the Sakshi is self-evident, only vritti vyapti is needed. A correction is needed only at the level of the vritti vyapti. I know Brahman is not there at all. That's why anybody who knows Brahman will never say, I have Brahma Vidya. They will not put a shingle. I have self-knowledge. That itself shows they don't have. Because this cannot be an object that can be understood. It is a reality that is owned up as the truth of myself. So now, why are we talking about all this? This bahihi, antaha, all this is going to come. So this is good background understanding. So even in the cognition of objects, there is a cooperation between aham and idam vrittis when phala vyapti takes place. Do you see that? Yeah. This part. And then, so it's this pot, okay, there are so many pots. What's so special about this pot? No, this pot I have cognized. So the relationship between idam and aham is one of knowership, ownership. And what is the owning? The knowing. So janami aham. And this is illustrated beautifully in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, one of the stanzas. Nana chidra ghatodara sthitamaha deepa prabhabhaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana dvara bahispandate janami iti tameva bhantam anubhati etat samastan jagat tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. This salutation, idam namaha, for whom? Dakshinamurti, tasmai. Who is this Dakshinamurti? Guru Murti, who is the embodiment of the teacher. And then, why am I doing this namaskar to Dakshinamurti? Because because I know this knowledge through him. I know the knowledge of objects and the knowledge of subjects from this Dakshinamurti. Who is this Dakshinamurti? The light of consciousness. So, in the ancient days, before there was disco and all this, to entertain children, they would have a clay plate like this, and over this they would have a lamp and they would cover the pot. Oh, but the lamp will get extinguished. Yes, you have to imagine holes. Yes. How many? 5. Yeah, sense organs. So, 5. You can imagine more also, doesn't matter, but a minimum 5. So, 5 holes, apertures, and then the light is not snuffed out, the light is there, and let's imagine the apertures in the shape of little animals, sun, moon, star, etc. And then this base used to be rotated, and then the child would just look around and feel happy, and then eat its food without a fuss, get distracted enough to eat and drink and do its things. And so this is what this is exactly what we have to understand here. Nana means many. Nana chidra, many holes. Ghata udara, in the stomach of the pot. Stomach of the pot means what? Pot belly. Okay, yeah. That's why it's called pot belly. So in the stomach of the pot, in the belly of the pot, what do we have? Many, many holes. And then there is one deepa. One deepa alone, Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram, one deepa shining in its own glory, like there was no tomorrow, always shining. So jnanam means the light of consciousness, chakshuhu adi karanadvara bahihi spandate. That's why I'm quoting this, that bahihi is important. It as though goes out, doesn't really goes out. It's not that the nose is in the other room where the samosas are frying. No. As though the information, it goes out to collect the information. So chakshudvara, and then what else? Karanadvara, through the ears and through the eyes, bahihi spandate. Spandate means it shines. It is shining where? In the borrowed light of this consciousness. The holes don't have their own light. Don't think the holes have many lights. No. Same light is going through the aperture, and I say, I see. The same light is going through the ears, and I say what? I hear. So then, dvara bahihi spandate. And then after the information is brought about that particular object, what do I say? Janami, ikshe, shrinomi, jigrami, karishye, janami. And what kind of a vritti is it? Aham vritti. This is aham vritti. In contact with idam, but then See, this is pot. Who is saying this is pot? I am the knower of the pot. That is blended in. This is what I want you to see. Very subtle it is. Very subtle chapter on so many levels. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. Upadesha Sahasri also, Adi Shankara's work, touches on many of these things. And some of the chapters are so difficult. If you don't pay very close attention, you don't know where you're just lost. And so here, what is happening? Janami iti tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. So this light of consciousness first lights up the eyes and ears, and then lights up also the buddhi, and then the eyes and ear, as though go out, they are reporters, they gather information, and they bring back a lovely article written about whatever it is they have seen or heard. And then reading that article, who reads that article? Aham vritti. In relation to that which is supposed to be cognized, what does it say? Aham janami. Aham ghatam janami. That the object of knowledge keeps changing. Aham ghatam janami. So like this. And then, so this way, the aham vritti and idam vritti can get confusing. Therefore, we went back to verse number 7 to see antarmukha vritti is aham vritti, bahirmukha vritti is what? Idam vritti. So then when we look at verse 15, what is that? So, sthirasthayi tatha sakshi bahihi antaha prakashayet. The sakshi transcends the aham vritti and idam vritti, and so therefore what does it illumine? Outside or inside? Both. Everything it illumines. And besides, from the standpoint of the sakshi, what is outside? What is inside? This is exactly what is talked about in number 16. Bahirantar vibhagoyam dehapekshena sakshini bahyadeshastha dehasya antar ahankritihi. Yeah. So here Vidyaranya Swami reminds us that this outside-inside business, internal external business, is for who? Is just for the idam vritti and aham vritti. This distinction is from which standpoint? From the standpoint of dehapekshe, dehapekshaha. Dehapekshaha means from the standpoint of this body. Anything outside the body, what do I say? Idam, 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 idam. Anything internally, like I'm observing my mind and I say I'm restless. What is that? When I say I am restless, aham, aham, aham. Even this is just a working definition, so don't get too attached to this. Because even the objectification of the body is an idam vritti, we know that. But just for the sake of, because he's not going to give up this idam aham because of the subtleties involved, so he's going to come back to that a little bit later. But for now, a working definition so that one can stand on a certain firm ground. This aham and idam is already mixed up. I am told that is the cause of samsara, but even in a simple perception, what is happening? The aham and the idam are getting mixed up. So, what is this antarmukha? What is this bahirmukha? So, this is what we have to see. And then the idam vritti is finite. It can only objectify objects. The aham vritti objectifies the knower. And then what about the sakshi? The sakshi identifies, illumines both the knower and the known. This is all we have to understand, nothing more. This is not like a rocket science. So bahir antar vibhagah ayam. Ayam vibhagah, this division. What is the division? Inside, outside, internal, external. Antarmukha vritti, bahirmukha vritti. Ayam vibhagah dehapekshah, from the standpoint of the body, na sakshini, not from the standpoint of the consciousness. Bahyadeshastha means these vishayas, the Bahyadeshastha, the objects are where? Are outside. Vishayaha, this missing here, one word is missing. Bahyadeshastha vishayaha or something like that. Dehasyantar ahankritihi. Yeah. So, Bahyadeshastha vishayaha. Objects are where? Outside the body. Ahankritihi, the I notion, where is its location? Inside the body. So only from the standpoint of the body, what is body? Upadhi. So upadhina, through this understanding of the body, we have this inside-outside demarcation. Why? The jiva is sitting inside this body. All from the standpoint of this mandu, this stubborn person who is not able to get this properly. So you are body identified, I understand, so okay, we'll do it, make it very easy for you. Anything that is outside the body is what? Bahya vritti, and then anything that is internal is ahankritihi. What is ahankritihi? A feminine version of ahankara. Oh, ahankara is both masculine and feminine? No, that's the word. Ahankaraha, the gender of the word is masculine, ahankritihi, feminine. Same thing. So, dehasya antaha, what? Ahankritihi. Bahyadeshastha vishayaha, dehasya, please add vishayaha there, it is missing there. That's why I was wondering what happened to the meter. So, bahyadeshasthaha vishayaha dehasya antaha ahankritihi. So, the I notion is cognized inside the body, within the body, and the, what is that? The other things are from the objects are cognized outside the body. The aham vritti and the idam vritti are extremely limited. Sakshi, which shines the light on both of them, is limitless. So the limitless Sakshi, from the standpoint of the Sakshi, there is no inside or outside. From the standpoint of space, is there any inside or outside? No. What do you mean inside space, outside space? What is there outside of space? Nothing. And so, in the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, a very beautiful example is given. So, the example is that of our favorite pot space. So, there the Upanishad says that, let's say, there is pot space here. Why to say it already is there? Can you see pot space? Yes. So, so this pot space, so now what do? I move the pot from point A to point B. Did I move the space also? Did the pot space also go along with the pot? Did I move the pot space? And if you have a doubt, let's move it again from point B to point A. Pot is going, that is very evident. Going. Is pot space also going? No. Why? Pot is in space. Pot is moving in space, pot space is not moving. Space doesn't move. Similarly, for the Sakshi, there is no antaha, there is no bahihi, it simply is. And it is all pervasive and everywhere, and even to say everywhere we are constrained. You know why? Because there is no such thing called everywhere. Everywhere means there should be directions. Aage, piche, upar, niche, there should be directions. Up, down, this side, that side, front, back, cardinal directions, non-cardinal directions, all that should be there. It is not there. So because Sakshi alone is, That's all to understand from that verse. Okay. So, what verse is there? What is the next one? 17. Antasthaadhi sahaivakshaih bahiryate punah punah bhasya buddhistha chanchalyam sakshinyaropyate vritha. Yeah. So the good thing about Vidyaranya is that he has left the Nataka Deepa allegory metaphor behind. Why? Because now we have understood the shenanigans of what each one stands for, and we have understood how they behave, so no need to keep stretching the metaphor. The metaphor is over. But now we are seeing what is the takeaway, what are the takeaways from this metaphor. So the first takeaway is given here in verse number 17, Antastha-dhihi. So where is this buddhi? Inside the body or outside the body? Yeah. Unless you are having an out-of-body experience, then I don't want to know about it. Okay? Yeah. Antastha-dhihi. The dhi, the buddhi is very happily inside. Okay? And then what does it do? So, sahaiva means along with. Along with what? Akshaihi, along with the sense organs. Decides to go on a trip. Yeah, the buddhi and the sense organs together go out. Oh, I thought they were inside. Yes, you thought they were inside, you were correct. But just like you don't remain at home all the time, imagine, even though you are called a grihastha, you don't remain at home. You don't remain at home all the time, and so why should you want the buddhi to remain inside all the time? Buddhi also, and we have to add a very big word. What is our favorite word? As though. Very good. As though goes outside. Because if the buddhi leaves the body, then that is what is that? That is the Upanishad's definition of getting close to death. Yeah. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is mentioned there. What then all the relatives gather around this person who is ready to leave the body. And each one says, Jnatayaha means relatives. The relatives gather and each one says, Janasi mam, do you know me? Look, I put a pillow under your head. Let's say this person is very rich. So the one who says, Janasi mam, is hoping to be in the will. Janasi, mam Janasi. And then the person lying down on the bed, even though still eating a little bit, even though drinking a little bit, even though making few hands and legs movement, does not recognize the relatives. So here, if the buddhi were to go out, that means what? The buddhi is getting every sense organ and every organ of action, and the sense organs are getting to depart the body. That is when it happens. So here buddhi does not leave the body, as though goes out on an excursion. And mind you, what's the fun in going out on an excursion alone? Very boring. And so you have to take a few people along who not just, killjoys. That's, people, you shouldn't take people along on an excursion who say you're spending so much, why this holiday needed and all. Such people you leave at home. Yeah. You take with you people who will enhance the experience. So the buddhi, which is the one who cognizes and the one who knows, what does it do? It takes along with it the sense organs on a little excursion. Yeah, this is what it says. So, this antastha-dhihi, so it's supposed to remain inside, correct? What does it do? Jumps out. Sahaiva akshaihi bahiryati, goes out. When? All the time. Punaha, repeatedly keeps going out. Stupid thing is never in. Always out. That's the problem. That's why that explains why I'm not interested in Vedanta. Very clear. Because the buddhi is more out than in. Why does the buddhi not want to be in? This is not, this is not said in the text. This is my, my own little, what should I say, tadka, addition to it. Why does the buddhi not want to go be in? Because it suffers from all kinds of memories it wants to get away from. That's why it has a pack of friends, 5 friends in the form of the sense organs. Come on, fellows, let's go. Let's go here today, let's go there tomorrow, let's see this, we haven't seen that, we haven't objectified this, we haven't objectified that. So this way, the buddhi keeps going out repeatedly. Punah punaha bahiryati. Bhasya buddhistha chanchalyam. Bhasya buddhistha chanchalyam. A very big word, compound, but we will break it up slowly. So now, how does the buddhi go out? How does the buddhi become friends with the sense organs? Is the buddhi sentient or inert? Please see me after class. This is very scary. Okay? Yeah. Inert. So then, how does the buddhi shine? In the borrowed light of Sakshi. It borrows the light from the Sakshi and it tells the Sakshi, can I have a flashlight? Sure, here, take. And then dances in that light. And then it's a generous buddhi. It also shares that light with the sense organs. They all shine in that light. And the buddhi is what? Chanchala, frequentative usage. Chala means what? Moving all the time. Chanchala, moving intensively, frequently. This was in fact Arjuna's complaint to Bhagavan in the 6th chapter. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadhridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. This mind is very chanchala, restless. This buddhi is, manaha means here buddhi has to be taken as manaha. So this manaha, this mind which is on a forever excursion is very, very chanchala. Chanchala means what? Extremely restless. Can't sit still. And you want me to meditate? Ha ha ha. Nice try, Lord Krishna. This ain't going to happen. Look at my buddhi. And then Lord Krishna, Bhagavan, agrees with him. Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. Yes, the buddhi is difficult to catch, the buddhi is difficult to discipline, and then the buddhi is chanchala. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. But it can be caught, it can be disciplined through a 2-pronged approach. Abhyasa, repeated practice of meditation. Vairagya, letting go of all kinds of objects internally while meditating and externally while not meditating also. So he gives a upaya to conquer this buddhi, this manaha. So here, buddhistha chanchalyam, bhasya, what kind of a buddhi it is? Bhasya buddhi. A buddhi that doesn't illumine anything. In fact, on the contrary, an illumined buddhi. Bhasya buddhi, an illumined buddhi. And here too, Swami Vidyaranya's cleverness as a writer, as a poet is on display, because he doesn't say who is doing the bhasanam, who is doing the lending the light. He doesn't say. Why? Because even in the empirical reality, in this everyday life, I don't see that the buddhi is illumined by Sakshi. I don't acknowledge that. I am not aware of that. Even if I'm told that, I'll say, please go home, let me just go out and do whatever I want. Who are you to tell me who is the light? I am the one who is doing all this. Who is this Sakshi? Will the Sakshi please stand up? See, Sakshi is not standing up, so Sakshi may not even be there. This is what the buddhi does. So, bhasya buddhistha chanchalyam, buddhistha, meaning centered on the buddhi. Chanchalyam, the restlessness centered on an illumined buddhi, is wrongly attributed, wrongly projected on who? Sakshi. Therefore, one says, I can't meditate. I am restless. I am anxious. I am depressed. What is depressed is buddhi, mind, etc. But then the properties of the... See, this is very important. We'll have to talk more about it in the next class also. But the property of the buddhi, which is what? Chanchalyam, the restlessness, is put on to the Sakshi. And the property of the Sakshi, can't say property, the nature of the Sakshi, which is illumination personified, is wrongly appropriated by the buddhi. This is what is called Anyonya Adhyasa. Anyonya Adhyasa. Poor Sakshi becomes a sitting duck for everybody's mistakes. Sakshi is restless, meaning I am restless, I am an idiot, I don't have this, I lack this, I need this, I need that. All these things are because the difference, the subtle difference between idam and aham vritti is not recognized. Idam vritti goes and gets mixed up with aham vritti and samsara ensues. More we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.